back in the garage today, and I completed a lot of the additions that I wanted to do on my new Slayer Propel. I'd like to do a walk around and show everybody what we've gotten so far. The first video was just kind of a show and tell with the brand new boat, but in a second here I'm going to turn the camera around and point out some of the things that changes I made, additions that I made, and maybe some future things that I want to do. Not much different with the front. I do have, stuck to my toolbox over there, I do have a Guardian Angel magnetic light for the bow. I'm gonna have to mount that right here. I was thinking about doing it off center just to avoid covering up the logo, but it kind of bothered me just that the light was off center. So I'm gonna mount that right here on the front. It's not needed right away, so it's just something I haven't done yet. One of the first and easiest upgrades, I spent a few bucks for the 3-pack and got the new latch tabs that have the finger hole. I only installed 2 so far, just because having a third one and then 2 others that weren't done yet didn't match in my mind. So, but I'm going to pick up another pack of 3 and I'll finish switching all these out. But it makes a big difference in getting into your hatch. It just makes it a lot easier. I also noticed that as this is locked down, the styrofoam or the foam that's along the inside of the hatch cover is compressed, so it makes it a little easier to open and close. And if I leave that open any length of time, you kind of have to push this down when you close it. That, to me, that's just showing that it's making a good seal. So move this out of the way. So the very first thing I did is, even though this is a pedal drive, I took my old leash off of my old recreation kayak. Do not like drilling holes in the side of a new kayak, but in this cover here I added the eye loop so I could attach my paddle leash. This might change eventually, only because if you have the pedal drive in and you pull that out of the water and you want to use your paddles, this isn't attached, so I got to attach the leash somehow. So some of the easiest, quickest things, the Yak Attack gear that I added. We got the cleat, one on each end, because this is usually the side that I'll pull up to the dock with, and I'll lash it on. Added a gear bag that just also fits in the gear tracks. This was a cheaper version off of Amazon. Native has their own version. Yak Attack, I think, has theirs, or Yak Gear rather, and they're helpful. I have the same size bag that has 3 pouches. I ended up putting in my crate that we'll see in a little bit. So I added on each side. I use shorter rods, so unlike the guys that are ocean fishing, that when they put their rods in, they can attach the butt of their rod back here on their landing gear. So I put the rod holders, one on each side of the seat, because I'm using 5.5, 6 foot rods, so that just holds that a little bit better. As we come around, tool storage, this is going to work out great. Again, I like using a cloth tackle bag, which compresses and I can stuff under the seat perfectly. Not a problem at all. As you can see, I got some Rogers rigs here. I tie up my own perch rigs, but Roger up in the Lake George area of New York. These rigs are really cool and work really well. We use them ice fishing, of course, but go ahead, use them for summertime fishing. It'll be great. So I took the rod leashes from my wreck kayak and I just looped them around the back of the seat here. These are primarily for the rods that I use in the rod holder if I'm just placing it here. I do have a Scotty rod holder that I need a new mount for that I'll put up here. Sometimes I like to just put it in front of me so I can see it as I'm paddling or moving a little bit. But that's these just connect. I have one on each side of the seat. I added the sidekick landing gear, of course, on each side. This was a pretty simple, easy install. Took an hour or so to do. I did add pool noodle piece back here just to keep my crate from bouncing around. We'll take a little bit closer look at the crate too. Even though I made this out of scrap boxes that I had kicking around the garage for years, it came out really neat. I kind of like it. Got some vibe straps here, and I used the mounts that come with an Engel strap kit just to hold the box in place. I'm going to add 2 more of these Yak Attack mounts for the Engel's bait box, which will work out really good. Again, here's the cleat for the back that I'll use to when I'm anchoring at the dock. The back of the kayak here, you can see my flagpole. I did a little bit of cutting. I wasn't terribly excited about this because it's my new kayak, but I did notch out the edge of that track right there, the aluminum track, just so I could get the attachment for the bottom part of the flag to slide in there, no problem. So I can tighten this down. I just connect it with the bungee that's connected to the handle, the leash, just to keep it safe. I do transport this on the back of my pickup, so I do have the safety flag, which is required. On this side, got a strap D-ring at the end of this track here, and that's going to be primarily for the Yak Attack boom pole. I'll have a rear mounted GoPro, and then I'll run a bungee cord down here just to keep the swing of the pole itself at a minimum. As we come around, you'll see I have the Yak Attack pole set up, and I can angle this any way I want. This is a cool gadget. I'm going to be using a anchor. I believe it's a 2600 charger. So this is just a backpack cell phone pocket that's made by Chicken Tramper ultralight gear. They make ultralight backpacks and equipment for through hiking. All that I did here was just run a couple Velcro straps to connect it to the pole. I have a 6-foot anchor USB to C charging cord that'll run up to the GoPro, and that'll work really well. As we come down the side here, I did add the Yak Attack anchor trolley. That was probably the biggest thing where I was biting my nails, only because, like I said, don't like drilling holes in a brand new kayak. But it worked out well. The back end for this trolley, I was able to snake a line through the holes through the back hatch, so I could use the heavy-duty backing plate. And of course, for the front trolley, it was very easy to do because you have access right from the hatch, so that was easy to reach. looking from this direction again. So I have the larger cleat here. This will mainly be to tie off my anchor rope. And one of the things that I want to do is build myself a 6 to 7 foot heavy duty, like a nice bungee anchor line, because the way this Yak Attack trolley system is, I can't run a 7 or 8 inch piece of bungee at each end. So what I'll do is I'll attach the bungee to the cleat here, then run the bungee through the trolley loop, and then connect my anchor line for a quick release, but also to give it that, you know, as I'm going in the waves and whatnot, to give it a little bit of give, so it's not putting all sorts of pressure on the tie down points. So again, we got the rod butt holder here and another rod leash. This rod leash probably might not be needed, because eventually I'm gonna just attach shorter leashes for the rods once they're in these holders. This rod leash would only be if I had something in this back rod location. I do plan again on adding another strap tie down here for the other side of the angle bait cooler. But other than that, I don't think I'm going to add any more accessories to the tracks. So for the front of this track here, I do have a GoPro camera mount. I have another one coming that'll be a 12-inch extension for a forward-facing GoPro when I'm fishing. The first day I go out, I'm just going to use this rear Yak Attack boom pole. So this Plano box here is going to just be primarily my camera hardware. It's got the smaller camera mount that will go up in the front when I want to use it. I have the bungee cords and some odds and ends in there. I'm not a big Plano box guy when it comes to storing my lures, and I kind of mentioned this in the first video also, that, you know, we're tempted to, you know, fishermen, be it ice fishing or if you have a boat, summertime fishing, we're tempted to bring everything we own, and I'm really trying to limit that. You don't have to carry everything you own. This is my cheesy old trout net that I like to use because I can stash it in my kayak. But here's my kayak crate that I built out of just old milk crates I've had for years kicking around in the garage. I mostly use them to transport the propane tanks for the gas grill, because they'll slide right in the milk crate very easily and they don't tip over in the back of my truck. But just like most styles that people build, this section here is the base off of a second milk crate. For the top layer, you know, to just add the water bottles and things that you're going to access fairly quickly or often. The lower section is for the dirty things like bait and anchor line and rope and bungees and all the extra junk that you'll want to carry around. And then the lid, of course, is just the bottom off a third milk crate. Strapping this down is pretty easy. Had a pretty stout bungee cord. I think this is a 1/4 inch bungee cord left over from another project. Drilled a couple holes in the side, and so you don't need any hooks or anything. Just knotted the bungee cord on the inside of the hole, so they just slide off. They'll always be attached, but you could put things underneath them to hold them on the lid. Put a jacket under there or something when I'm paddling out. And then once I need to access this, just slide them to the sides, and this opens up. perfectly. I might have overdone it just a little bit with all the zip ties. I probably didn't need, 7. Could have probably got away with 5 for hinges, but this keeps it nice and straight on the milk crate, and lets it stand up without any extra cords. So that was a simple solution in strapping this down. With this, I just used a bungee button, I guess it's called, which is just a round piece that the bungee cord can loop around. I did add a couple small washers as spacers just to give this a little bit more space to make it easy where I can just put my finger underneath. But again, this is just that 1/4 inch bungee cord. Drilled a couple holes in the side of the milk crate and knotted it off. Again, this will slide back and stands up on its own. And I was fortunate, I had the flat-sided milk crate so you could put all your stickers and everything. Just, because that's what we like to do. And inside you can see that 3-pocket mesh pouch that could also go up on your rail system. But what I did is I put the bungee cord through the same holes and just knotted it off. So I didn't have to have a lot of nuts and bolts, and you can screw them in with nuts and bolts. That would be just fine. But that worked out good for me. So put the bait up here for tomorrow if it's warm and doesn't rain. This Engel cooler, I'm really looking forward to using. I actually bought one for the one of my daughter's boyfriends. He's a big-time fisherman, for Christmas, and I liked it so much I went back and got one for myself. So this is just a nice cooler. Comes with the bait net, so you don't need to have a separate hand net. You just pick this up and you can grab a minnow and then drop it back down in the water. There's a hole in the lid for the aerator that hangs off the side there, and the aerator works great. It's nice and quiet. I don't mind having a little bait net, that your typical bait net that you'd have in a bait bucket. So this might go after a while. I can imagine this getting a little smelly after a summertime's worth of minnows and worms. My other use for this cooler too, when I don't need minnows, is just going to be the box that you put an ice pack in. You keep your worms, maybe a couple drinks, and your lunch. So I'm looking forward to using that cooler. The aerator pops right off, so I could use the cooler just as a regular cooler. Put your worms back there, your lunch, a couple drinks, and of course I'm repping the Three Bells Outfitters, which is the marina that I bought my kayak in, and they're in Connecticut. Great bunch of people there, really nice store, and the marina's beautiful. So there it is. I don't think I'm doing any other big additions to this kayak. The only thing I mentioned is I will have the forward mounted, it'll be a 12-inch GoPro mount, so 12-inch high GoPro mount. And if I do anything else, it'll be some sort of backpack or something that will hang on the back. I do like the native seat pack, but I'm not sure I'm going to spend $130 for a backpack. So that's about it. I'd like to hear other people's suggestions on additions they've made, or products that might be helpful, or a nice addition to this kayak, particularly those things that work well with the native kayaks. I have mentioned before, eventually, probably the end of the summer, I will upgrade the steering, both with the handle, go with the Boondocks rudder, and of course the rest of the steering upgrades. But until then, tight lines.